That did not go well. I opened my mouth and something happened.
I put my mouth and something happened. That should be the cold intro. The cold open.
I opened my mouth and something happened. Sounds like a line one of the Guardians would say.
It totally sounds like something the Guardians would say.
Every hero has 15 signature cards. One of them has to be the worst. I'm Villain Theory, and I'm here with Boomguy from the Winning Hand podcast. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I am excited for another episode of this series, which has been a ton of fun so far. I hope people are enjoying it.
Yeah, really enjoying this myself. And I'm really excited to talk about the sort of heroes we're talking about in this wave, because we're talking about the Galaxy's Most Wanted wave, Cycle 3. Basically it's the Guardians, and we're going to be trying to figure out, which of their hero cards isn't the greatest. And that's not to say they're not good cards, because, it's very possible, and some of them do have, 15 really solid cards. But we're just trying to identify the ones that get the least love to, both for a bit of fun, but, to talk about them in a good way, to talk about what they actually can do.
Yeah, I think this is the fourth installment of this series. Hopefully people have watched the first couple or are familiar. The basic format's going to be the same. We are going to go through all the heroes. We'll each pick one card that we think is the worst. If we don't agree, we'll have a quick debate, and then we will agree on one. Then in the second half of the video, we'll rank all of them in the giant tier list that we've created, and then it's going to continue to grow. So it's the same tier list, and we're just going to add and add to it as we go along.
Yes, that should be really fun, and I think we should just fly right into it.
Let's go. How about you have first pick this time, because I did it last time.
Cool, let's go for Star-Lord.
Ooh, okay.
I like Star-Lord a lot. I have said many times, from the podcast or my channel, different things. He's kind of my favorite character. And, I don't play him the most these days because I played him for years, and there's lots of flashy new characters, and I really like Cable and Psylocke. But I do like Star-Lord a lot still. He's probably still, long-term my favorite. And it's interesting because I think he has a lot of cards which aren't considered that popular, especially among certain people. He's very much a polarizing hero, I want to say. And I'm just going to open it right up. The card that I think is worst from his hero kit, I'm going to go, and I think this might be different from yours, I'm going to go for Jet Boots.
I think that is a contender. I think for me, there was three main contenders here. But anybody who has listened to our podcast, we did a whole episode on a Star-Lord card, which I was very negative about. I still don't think it's a good card. I think it's Nova Prime.
I thought you might go here. This was also in contention for me, I will say.
The other one I thought about was Bad Boy. That was the third card that kind of kicked around a little bit. But for me, I think it's clearly Nova Prime. But I know people disagree.
I like Bad Boy a lot, so I'm glad it's not that one, or I would be fighting you right now.
All right, well, you tell me why you think it's your card, and I'll tell you why I think it's mine.
Okay, so to tell you about Jet Boots, I need to tell you about Star-Lord. And this might be 20, 50 minutes of the episode. No. He's a rush hero, but you can also play him slow. And I think in both cases, Jet Boots doesn't work great for him. Because if you're rushing, you're probably only blocking, 2 to 4 damage across a game of this realistically. And I don't think that's worth it for 2 cost. You'd much be better off, playing an ally, and blocking with that after attacking with it, or just, attacking more, or anything like that. So in a slow strategy, you might not be taking as many encounter cards. It's probably not, blocking that much damage. And because Star-Lord is quite fragile and tends to be, attacked more than the average character, you're gonna, block the main villain attack probably with an ally or something. I think it's very rare you say let Jet Boots take it, and if an encounter card then makes you get attacked again or take more damage, you've turned an encounter card face up. You now have less face down encounter cards in front of you. Jet Boots has lost effectiveness, and there's nothing worse than like the last encounter card making you take damage, and now you've got no face down encounter cards for Jet Boots to work. So I think it's kind of unreliable, kind of low impact, and I don't hate it. I think it's fine, but I basically prefer all his other cards to Jet Boots. So this is the one I will skip and pass on the most.
I will illustrate that point by saying the last time I played Star-Lord, I played a Star-Lord pool deck designed to go fast and do weird stuff. And it's a fun deck. It's the one I brought to the Con of Heroes. I played it a ton of times this year. I still play it because I think it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
I had 8 encounter cards in front of me. And the first one I flipped was an attack. So I thought, okay, well, I have 7 more encounter cards to go. Maybe I'll just take this one because I might get the one later that causes all the minions engage with me and the villain to attack, and then I might really want this. And then what you said happened. I took the attack, it was 3 or 4 damage, whatever, and then I just went down and counter card, down and down and down until the last one, and I got attacked again. And then Jet Boots was worthless. So yeah, that can happen. So I just illustrate your point. It's not my choice, but
I thought you were about to say the opposite. I had these 8 encounter cards in front of me. I stopped 8 damage. It was amazing. 8 encounter cards in front of me. Jet Boots is really good. But I don't think that's regular.
No, with my pool deck, I was averaging like 5 a turn, and it was wild. But okay, this episode is not about that deck. This episode is about how bad Nova Prime is.
Okay, talk to me about Nova Prime.
I did loyal winning hand listeners. We are the People's Podcast, so a lot of these people are probably listening, and so they already know. They've heard my thoughts for an hour on Nova Prime. Nova Prime is bad. Nova Prime, if you take away how much he costs, Nova Prime is a solid ally. He's 2 thwart, 3 attack, 3 hit points. I can deal with it. He could potentially have some aerial synergy if you're going with that, and he can defeat a non-elite minion. That's great. He costs 5.
Yep.
5 is an insane amount to pay. And in most turns, in most games, you cannot play this because you only have 5 cards in your hand, and you can't afford it. The only reason he costs 5 is because of Star-Lord's ability. And how that affected the cost of all of his cards, I talked about as well. We can talk about that some other time. I think many of them are overcosted because of that ability. But Nova Prime, so you have to have a non-elite minion. The proliferation of the elite keyword in the game is to the point where a lot of the ones you actually want to get rid of, you can't because they're elite. It's the same problem you have with, I think, cards like Karma. But again, I'm getting off track. So you have to use Star-Lord's ability. So the cost of this card is 2 effective resources, or 3 effective resources, really. It's cost 2, plus you have to take an encounter card. That's really the cost of this card. And to defeat a non-elite minion, and non-elite minions, a lot of them aren't that bad. There are a few. I think from the Green Goblin pack, right? Tombstone is like 7 or 8 hit points, and he's non-elite. And I think there's a couple of the Sentinels from some of the encounter sets that are non-elite that have huge hit points. But other than that, most of the ones you want to get rid of are elite. So if I do not have a strong non-elite minion in front of me, I'm not playing this. If I've already taken an encounter card to play something else, I'm not playing this. Once he's on the board, sure, 3 attack is good, but this is just not one I play. And I will go to my grave saying Nova Prime is his worst card. I don't like Nova Prime.
Interesting, because I don't always love Nova Prime, but I play him sometimes. Maybe I play 2-player mostly. Sometimes less, sometimes more. But I would ask, what would he cost if he didn't have this responsibility? Because to me, he's like basically it would be a free cost ally. Maybe 2.5, but probably free. Yeah, I'd probably say free cost. So the way I look at it is defeating the minion is like 2 extra resources. And I like it quite a lot in that regard. So not something I'll play every time I see it, but I play it more than the Jet Boots just because it's just really convenient way to get rid of a minion.
I think I for sure play the Jet Boots more than I play Nova Prime. And they're not always useful. They thin your deck, if nothing else. They're a target anytime you have to discard an upgrade. So you don't have to lose his pistols. I don't know. I don't think it's great, but I think it's better than Nova Prime. And you're gonna have to pull rank on your own channel to make me agree with you. I think I don't like Nova Prime.
That's interesting.
It could also be a me thing.
It's situational, but what makes it better for me as Star-Lord is that I'm taking encounter cards, like fairly often. I'm getting more minions than average, so there's a good chance there might be a good target for Nova Prime. Because I do use him, not like every game, but some games I play him multiple times. Whereas the Jet Boots, sometimes I have multiple games where I haven't played it, depending on how it's gone. I don't know. I'm gonna offer you a deal. I'm gonna, we're gonna slightly twist the format here and offer you a deal.
Okay.
Here's the deal. If you let me pick Star-Lord's worst card, when we get to Visions, I will give you complete reign to pick that one.
I'll take your deal. Deal. Got it.
That's not how we normally do it on the videos, but Star-Lord.
But that's the only way we're going to get to an accord today, because I'm dug in on Nova Prime.
And I really actually quite like Nova Prime. So yeah,
I'll go with your jet boots then.
Cool.
We have reached an accord.
We have reached an accord, and it wasn't pretty, but it happened.
I just am, and maybe it's just me, I'm really negative Nova Prime. I did, after our episode way back when, I got some messages. People said Nova Prime's not as bad as you think he is. Those are lies. That's all propaganda paid for by Nova.
Paid for by me.
The Nova Corps, yeah, and Villain Theory. I want to talk about a box hero. My choice is going to be, again, going with the theme of I like the heroes that are a little more, less popular. I'm going to pick Groot.
Okay, Groot is going to be very interesting. I was looking at his cards before he recorded, and I'm excited to talk about this one. Go ahead.
I picked I Am Groot.
Ooh, which one?
I Am Groot.
I Am Groot?
I Am Groot. I picked
I Am Groot. Okay. I have a soft spot for Groot as well, actually. I quite like him. But I can tell you, I didn't go for I Am Groot.
I have one that's a close second. I'm wondering if that's one you're going to pick. But I picked I Am Groot, the thwart event.
I was really torn with Groot. Groot reminds me of Hawkeye that we talked about in the last episode. It's a character that's not generally regarded, so highly by most people. But at the same time, I think his kit, card by card, individually, is pretty solid. The one that stands out to me, actually, is Lashing Vines, which is the one cost upgrade that readies him.
That was not my close second.
Ooh, I want to hear what your close second is.
It was Vine Spikes.
See, I like that one. I've had conversations with other people. I know I like it more than some people.
Okay, well, let me tell you why it's I Am Groot, the thwart. Yeah. 4 effective resources to thwart with a character who has bad economy. As I said in the last show, right? 4 resources in this economy? Yeah, same thing. I think he struggles for money, and so spending that on a thwart is tough.
Yep.
Guardians don't have access to resource generators like X-Men and Avengers do. So that's just like he can't play Quinn Carrier or X-Jet or something like that. So that becomes more difficult. He doesn't have a resource generator. It requires you.
Yeah.
What?
I was gonna say he has Fertile Ground, which lets him draw a card, but it's like the Alter Ego thing. And as we discovered in the last episode, I like Alter Ego more than you.
And is that a resource generator in the same way?
Well, not in the same way, but he gets.
It's not a Quinn Carrier, which will help you pay for this.
He can get more cards than his initial hand sometimes, but
True.
yeah,
and you can use Deft Focus because he's a lot of superpowers, so I can get that.
Yep.
This requires you to pay a lot, but also retain your counters, which can sometimes be difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it can do big numbers, but sometimes if it does too much, it feels bad, right?
Yeah.
Because you've spent a lot. Maybe you have a ton of counters and you're going to pay 4 and you're going to thwart for 7, but there's only 5 on a side scheme. That doesn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
So for those reasons, I picked it as his worst card.
I think those are great reasons. Groot's lack of money and, some kind of expensive cards or expensive problems to solve is definitely a factor that I find when I play him. And keeping the counters is very unreliable. And there are ways to do it, but, you have to invest into that and it's tricky. This card for me is a multiplayer card. And in solo, it's much less useful. If the counters line up, if everything lines up, yeah, I can use this to squash a side scheme immediately or just clear the main, especially some of the bigger main schemes that are more generous and, let you stack up more threat. But as you say, quite often it's overkill. And the thing I'm going to say in favor of it, and why
we're not saying good things yet.
We're not saying good things yet.
No, the good things is the second half. Well, you can say something though.
We sometimes mix them in.
That's true. We do.
We
just want to say good stuff. We like the game.
I'm just going to drop the word Overwatch and we'll move on.
Okay. It's in my notes.
I talk about my card now. And
okay, let's talk about yours.
It's tricky because I want to say good things because I like the Guardians, I like Groot, I like Marvel Champions. And I don't dislike this card. I do use it sometimes. I quite often, it will definitely get onto the board quite often, if I need to thin the deck. If it's the only superpower I draw and I've got Death Focus, down goes Lashing Vines and then it's available. But spending 2 growth counters, I think, is very costly. It's 2 damage you could have prevented, but more than that, It could, boost all your events up. It could be used for one of your other upgrades. And I got to talk about some of the good bits here in that it readies you so you can use one of your other maybe slightly more efficient upgrades. But just the two cost on this for me is just slightly too much to make it comfortable. So I use this card like I use all of Groot's cards, but I don't enjoy it.
So is what gets you the 2 effective resource cost or the 2 growth counter cost?
The 2 growth counter cost.
Hmm.
It's interesting to me with the growth counters. I'll just say I kind of in many ways value them similar to a single resource, but it does vary depending on how you're using it and the situation and so on.
I will say that I used to play Groot the way I think a lot of people play Groot, which is protect the counters, wait for your big cards, and hit for a lot or thwart for a lot. I had an epiphany about 6 months ago with Groot, and I learned to stop worrying about the counters and spend the counters much more fluidly. And as soon as I did that, Groot became better. When Groot first came out, I was very, very excited. And I played it, and it just never felt quite right. Like, you're trying to protect these counters, and, like a lot of people, like, why is it a forced response? Why can't I just choose if I want to remove him? Why do I have to get rid of him and take damage? Blah, blah, blah. And then I stumbled on a deck by one of the deck builders on Marvel CDB, and it planted a seed in my head. And I began to just use the counters a lot more loosely. So I began to use them for all of his upgrades.
Yep.
Readying me, attacking, doing different stuff. And if I draw one of his big events and I happen to have a bunch of counters, cool, I'll play that event. If I draw it and there's only 2 counters on me, I'll just pitch it for something else, because I think a much more efficient and fun way to play Groot is to use the counters and spend them.
Yes. I basically agree with you. I like spending the counters on Groot, but I feel like spending 1 to get like 2 extra forwarding or 2 extra damage or 3 extra defense is much more efficient than just readying in that regard. I feel like the readying is just very inefficient on the counters generally.
It can be. It depends on what aspect you're playing. If you've boosted your stats in any way, right? If you're playing aggression, you could have combat training out, things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think your point about making them 1-to-1 with resources is pretty close. And I started using clarity of purpose a lot with Groot, which essentially converts them 1-to-1.
Yeah.
And you just spend a counter to get a resource. And I think that has helped me unlock Groot's economy a little bit. Yeah, I don't even know if it's I think there's other of his upgrades that are worse than this one. I think readying can be pretty good. And it can be done anytime, right? It can be done after you defend. So if you want to play a protection build, you can defend, ready yourself, defend again potentially for somebody else. Or you could attack, ready yourself, attack again, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's versatile.
It is versatile, but I don't know. It's using up 2 of my counters is my big problem. I do use it though. I do think it's good to use, so I'm not saying it's not worth using. I just think it's the worst of the cards he has, because I love Battleground. We are Groot. I love all his upgrades, the other ones.
Yeah.
I like Root Stomp. I actually do like his things that rely on having counters. Fruition is obviously really good. So I just don't. I agree with all the points you're making about it, but I still just think it is the least efficient of his upgrades, and I like his other stuff more.
Because the other ones only take 1 counter, right?
Yes.
To boost.
Yes. So, if I'm attacking and I get +2 attack, that's 1 counter for 2 damage. If I use the vines to ready up an attack, it's 2 counters for, half the damage that vine spikes. I would have attacked for 4 with it. So it's still fine. And it lets me, I think you might have mentioned this or something, but I can attack with the vine spikes ready up, then I can attack and use entangling vines to boost his 4, and I can kind of do it that way. 4 counters total for the results you get is kind of like decent. It's just if I had to pick one of his cards, it's lashing vines for me.
Yeah, I think for me it's the cost. His economy hurts, and I find it easier to spend counters sometimes than to spend resources, right?
Yeah.
If I'm spending his big thwart event, like that's my whole hand pretty much. And like it means I'm not doing anything else unless I'm readying with counters. And in my new kind of freewheeling counter worry-free playstyle with Groot, I just don't have that many counters a lot. And then it just turns I Am Groot into a bad card, Like if I only have 3 or 4 counters, I'm not gonna spend 4 effective resources to thwart for 3 or 4. That's just like a bad return.
Yeah.
I'd rather just spend 2 to ready myself and thwart, with this other stuff. So it's like some of the other ones we've had, this might come down to a playstyle thing.
Yeah.
If you are the kind of person who defends the counters at all costs, And then once they hit those big ones, you're going to say, Boomguy, you're crazy. But you're also going to say, where can I hear more about that podcast, Boomguy? And I'll say it's Winning Hand.
I'm really in the middle because I don't, rely on having the counters, and if I don't have the counters, I can't do anything. I like to use his upgrades quite a lot, but I like to float between like 6 and 10 counters is my ideal world, rather than just stick to 10 or just burn them all, furiously. I'm kind of, I guess, maybe in the middle. But I do like I Am Groot.
I'm on the fence, but I could go either way here. I won't be mad. Flip a coin.
I could go either way too. Do you have a coin to flip? I would love to do that.
I don't have a coin to flip. I'm generally an audio-only podcast, so I don't have visual aids. like coins to flip.
I'm normally on camera on the video, but I can tell you I don't normally need cash when I'm recording.
I think the last episode, I conceded the first one.
I'll concede this one. That's fine.
Okay.
We can go for I Am Groot.
I really like Groot. I want to play more of Groot, actually.
Groot's fun.
Who do you want to talk about next?
I'm going to keep it simple because it's kind of already open. We're going to go to Rocket.
Oh, Rocket's really good.
Rocket's really good. And I'll tell you the problem I had when I was looking over his cards, trying to decide what I was going to pick for this episode. They're all really good, guys. They're all really good. And every time I see a Rocket card in my hand, I'm generally happy. So I'm really curious to what you've picked because I struggled with this one a lot.
There's a different hero in this wave that I struggled with, and I have a note that says this hero has no bad cards. It's not Rocket. We'll
Interesting. So you think he has a bad card? Am I getting this on record?
I don't think he has a bad card. No, okay, I don't think he has a bad card. But I think he had one that I was comfortable picking.
Okay. I guess that's two for me, slightly lower down, but I'm going to go for the one that I feel in my heart that calls to me as his least good but still good card, and that is Reload.
That was my close second.
Ooh,
I went for the Cybernetic Skeleton.
Oh, I love this card. That's interesting.
Go ahead. You tell me about yours. I'll tell you about mine.
I need to find out more about a Cybernetic Skeleton. This is...
you want me to go first?
No. I'll go for Reload. Okay. So, Reload is his least good card because it doesn't give you anything you don't already have in terms of like value, like in the long term. The only thing it gives you is tempo. It readies your tech upgrades so you can use the charges faster, but you would have still had the charges on his weapons and so on and battery packs, the next turn. So there are some kind of sequencing things you can do, like get the last charges of battery packs so you can then, use Tinkering to get rid of it. And I think that's really good. And I think this is a good card, but it doesn't do anything. It's just using up my counters faster, which isn't bad. It is actually quite good for Rockets. So yeah, there you go. I like it. I just like it less than his really good, his really good weapons or his upgrade, his battery pack, his double resource, his really good forwarding card, his healing card, which can be kind of, the timing is crazy, but like if you get it at the right time, you just like heal so much. So
yeah,
I like Rockets cards and I like Reload, and I'm sorry to pick it.
I like Reload a lot, and I think what's probably my new favorite Rocket build is the repurpose build with him. Reload helps a lot because you can burn those counters down to repurpose stuff. So I think Reload's great. I didn't pick it. I went for the Cybernetic Skeleton. Again, I don't think he has bad cards. I just picked this one as maybe one of his least useful. It's 3 effective resources to add 3 hit points and an attack. I think my issue with this is that Rocket is incentivized to use his basic thwart because it's so high, and because cards like I've Got a Plan exist. He's not generally using his basic attack, so for me, I find that doesn't really do a lot. And 3 hit points is nice, but I could just play something else, Endurance or whatever, or not worry about the hit points, which is really what ends up happening. I think he already has a lot of upgrades he wants to play, and so this one feels at least impactful to me, and it's the one that if it's in my hand, I have nothing better to play, I'll play, but I do skip it sometimes. I think 3 hit points isn't quite enough here, and the attack doesn't do much for me. So, yeah, for me, I think it's not a bad card by any means. We say it's their worst card, because by definition, someone has to have a worst card. It may not be a bad card. This is not a bad card.
Yeah, this for me, I like this, and I'll tell you why. It's largely because of Rocket's actual hero ability, his murder you ability that draws you a card. This just makes it easier to hit sometimes. Sometimes I hit a minion down to, 1 health, and now with the extra +1 boost, I get what I need. I'm not saying his other weapons can't do that, but sometimes I can, if there's multiple minions now, get an extra card because I had this out there. So I feel like the attack boost is useful. Fording is, generally better for him to do. Is basic fording is really good. But if I'm aggression in multiplayer or something like that, or if I don't need the threat removal right now, I do like it. And if I were to look at this in aspect terms, which again it's not perfect for everything, but it's basically combat training and endurance, just for the price of combat training. And I think with his low base hit points, that +3 hit points is actually quite valuable for him. It's like a nice safety net that I do find then makes, how do I pronounce it, Schadenfreude, deal more healing, more safety as well. I kind of, oh, this is still in my deck. I can let my health get down a little bit lower because I've got more health to play with. Yeah.
I think I'm comfortable with this. I think reload, I just end up using more because I play his weapons out more.
I play his weapons all the time. Like he definitely has different ways to defeat minions, but I don't know, maybe it's a multiplayer thing, maybe it's the scenarios I'm playing, but I typically prioritize cybernetic skeleton quite high, and I'm typically always quite glad of it. So maybe it's a playstyle thing again.
I felt bad picking this card. I mean, the boots are better than the skeleton for sure. I will relent on this one because the +1 attack and +0 points is good. Like, it is a good card.
I feel very strongly, not necessarily for reload, but I feel very strongly that I like cybernetic skeleton.
Okay, I will relent.
I appreciate that.
Oh no, we have to negotiate. We have to come to an agreement here.
We do. And you know what? I'm going to throw it out there. If I had to pick another card, I don't love his rocket launcher all the time. I think of the weapons, I picked that last. But I still like it. I like all his cards.
He's just really good.
Yeah.
He's a really good hero. He's a really well-designed hero, actually.
I used to not like him much at first, but I had a complete turnaround on him. I really like him now. And that repurposed rocket is my favorite way to play him. One of my favorite decks in the game.
Really?
Yeah, really like it. Really fun.
My choice next, I am going to go with the one that I teased a moment ago. The one that I put a note that says, Drax doesn't have bad cards.
Ooh, I agree. This is the one I struggled with the most trying to pick before the video. I was like, what do I pick here? They are all really, really useful.
I went back and forth. I tried to pick one. I didn't even go back and forth between cards. I legitimately could not find one that I wouldn't want to have in this kit. The one I eventually settled on was Too Stubborn to Die. Because I had to pick one.
I was really torn between two cards, but there was a third one. Like I could rank his cards, like his three bottom cards, in my opinion. Like I know what they are in my head, but they're still really, really, really good cards, and there's not a lot in it.
This might be our first S tier. I'm gonna.
Ooh, that's very interesting. Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm gonna give you my bottom three. So the one I'm not choosing, but was in contention, was Payback. Now this is a crazy good card because it's 0 cost for 4 or 5 damage.
Or more. It's so good.
But it's locked to the villain, and until you have got to the point where you've got big attack, it's not as useful. I will probably still have enough damage to win a lot of games without this card. It's the least essential, whereas Knife Leap will help me clear minions and, especially guard things and things like that. And still do 5 damage for 0 once I got counters. But I do like Payback a lot. I was torn between Drax's other knife, which I still really like, and Too Stubborn to Die. The main knife is +1 attack, which is a good knife. This one is the Retaliate knife, which is good, but it's not as good as +1 attack. It's the less good knife, but still the very good knife. Getting to stab the villain without any effort is great fun. So I really like this. I really like this card. But because I'm such on the edge, I'm just going to go with your card, I think, which is Too Stubborn to Die, which is 2 cost upgrade, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, okay. It's 3 effective resources for an upgrade that may not pay off, to be honest. There are games you might play this out and you just don't use it. Yes. I tend to see Drax played most often rushy, so he goes pretty fast. Clarify, I often play with one of my podcast mates, Lazy Titan, and he plays Drax a lot. It's his favorite hero, and he goes hard. He ignores the thwarting. He ignores the damage he takes. He goes all out and just rushes, and it's great fun to look at. It's great fun to watch, and so in a lot of those cases, this doesn't pay off. It also flips you to Alter Ego and removes all your counters, which is better than losing, but It also can only be used once, unlike Cap's helmet, which can be recycled and used again if you would ever need to use it again. I don't know if you would, but that's the only things I could think about to say that are bad. It's still a good card for a character who invites attacks and damage. Like, you probably still want this in there.
Yeah.
Drax has no bad cards.
Yeah. I really like playing Drax. I think he's super fun. I think all his cards are good. But when I did my tier list, it's the only tier list I've ever done. It's the first video basically on my channel. I put Drax fairly low.
Link up here.
no, that's not what I was going with. But some people disagreed about Drax. So like Drax is so good. I think when the going is good, Drax is incredible. But when things go bad for Drax, Drax is one of the worst characters in the game to recover with. If things don't go according to your plan, you have a problem because you have to go alter ego to like heal. If you're in that kind of situation. And then you lose all your counters, which kills all your momentum. So you're in a bad situation, now you've lost all your counters. And that still happens with this card. But where it changes you to Alter Ego, you don't have to at least flip down Alter Ego to survive. It's a safety net, which isn't ideal because you lose those counters because going Alter Ego loses all his vengeance that he builds up. But it keeps you in the game. And that is important. So without this card, it can be impossible to recover. With this card, you can recover. This card saves games, and that makes it a very good card. But like you say, it's kind of,
Have bad cards.
It's not expensive per se, but it's low impact, Unless you play this when you're really about to be defeated, it's not going to do anything for like a couple turns at least. And you probably don't want to have to use it. If you flip to Alter Ego and lose all your counters, that's bad. The main game plan for most Drax decks is don't go Alter Ego. Win before that, have some kind of defensive plan, something along that line. So
I think this is a theme for me with the Guardians wave that we've seen today, and we'll probably keep talking about. Many of them have a very high ceiling and a very low floor.
Yeah.
They Rocket, same thing. He can be awesome. He can also just get like rolled over. Same thing with Star-Lord. It can be like feel great. It can also all blow up in your face. I feel like Drax is kind of the same thing, right?
I thought you were going to Groot.
Well, Drax is great. And when Drax isn't doing well, Drax kind of isn't very fun to play.
Yeah. I have the 100% same thing with Groot, because I think both these characters are, counter-based, and they both don't have, like, the best, most reliable forwarding, we'll say.
Yeah, this is a really good card. I don't know if it'll be our first S tier. Maybe. It's going to be very high, I think. Okay, well, you get to choose next. And what hero are you feeling? There's a couple left. Who do we have left? Nebula, Gamora.
I think Nebula's from a different wave. That'll be another video.
Excuse me. Gamora and Venom are the only ones that left.
Yeah.
Nebula's the next wave, but she's a Guardian.
I'm going to stay true to form because there's a user who watches my videos who comments in Discord, and they're upset that I don't like Venom. So I'm going to choose Venom last, and I'm going to let you choose him last. I'm going to choose Gamora.
You like Gamora.
I do like.
Favorites, I think.
Favorite is a difficult word for me in this game because I actually love this game. I love so many of the heroes. I really like Gamora. I don't know if she makes like my top 15 characters, but like she's very high. I really enjoy her.
She's not in your top 10.
No, but she was at one point. I'll say that. I really like her. But she has, the multi.
At the end of this, sorry to interrupt. At the end of this series, we should do a tier list and just talk about our favorites. After we've talked about every single hero and the worst card, we should maybe talk about our favorites.
That sounds fun. I'm up for that.
All right. Sorry. Go talk about Gamora.
Oh, good. So Gamora's kind of got that multi-aspect thing going on. You can take attack and a fort fence from other aspects, but she just likes events. She plays attack events. She plays forting events, and she does really good with them. Very high impact, hits the ground running kind of thing. And I struggled because I'm going to say it here as well. I don't think Gamora has a bad card either. There are a couple of cards I like less, but I still think all of these cards in a vacuum, they're good. And I think all of these cards for Gamora are good. The card I had to settle on in the end was Gamora's Sword.
I also picked Gamora's Sword, so
another mutual pick.
I think this is a pretty easy for me. I think this is clearly, in my mind, this was a step below the other cards, and we can talk about why. But I thought this was pretty easy.
My other one in contention was Set the Pace, because 0 costs for 1 threat. One card for 1 threat, but it combos so well with all her other stuff. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I think has helped Gamora's Sword, maybe I should save this for the end, but I'm just gonna say Lock and Load, just to throw that out there. But this card is just expensive for what Gamora wants to do. This is the price of a swinging web kick, but she'll probably win before she has to play 8 attack events in a lot of cases, unless you found this turn 1. But then you might have also found like her resource generators and other things like that I think typically give you a bit more, bang for your buck. But I do like this. I think 1 damage every attack event. She can play a lot of attack events. You can build for cheap attack events and go crazy with it. So I think it's a great card, but it's just expensive, relatively, and a little bit slow on a character that's very fast and wants to play lots of, events.
Yeah, this throws off her entire economy, and it throws off the whole tempo of her game. And I think I'm excited if I see this in my opening hand. And much beyond that, I'm not excited to see it anymore. Like, if you're into your second or third turn, I'm just not playing this anymore. It's too much of a hit, and you're throwing away a lot of other great events to pay for this. It feels a little gimmicky and out of place with the low-cost kit she has. You mentioned your second choice was a 0-cost event card. She has 0-1 cost. She's hitting fast, playing a bunch of cards, doing stuff. It feels very agile, and then you have this big clunky upgrade that just doesn't often fulfill its potential. Like you said, if you compare it to swinging web kick 3 for 8, you're not going to get 8 out of this. I would say.
Yeah.
I think it should cost 2, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
It should be a 2-cost upgrade. It's crazy that they settled on 3 with it, but yeah, I think this is pretty clearly her worst card.
Cool. Well, I think we're pretty agreed on that.
Yeah, that was easy. We're on to the last one then. We are on to Venom.
Yes, Venom.
And let's do Agent Venom. So, as you said before, you hate Venom. So, I'll start. I know you didn't. I'm just picking on your Discord user. Okay. The card I picked is... I think I struggle with this one because I think a lot of his cards are pretty good. Or like Hawkeye, they're pretty close.
Yes.
Got a couple standouts, and a lot of them are kind of close together for me.
Yep.
I picked Savage Attack.
That's very interesting. So I don't hate Venom, but he doesn't interest me. He doesn't engage me. There's a whole story behind it. So for Black Daz, who is the person that, I like Venom, but it's kind of a very mild thing when I really like pretty much everyone else. So, that's kind of where my problem comes. But his cards are kind of interesting. He has a variety. I like his weapons a lot, but you know what I don't like? I don't like Savage Attack.
Ooh, we agree again.
We agree again.
I think this card is pretty pedestrian. 3 effective resources for 5 damage is the definition of mid. I think it is just like an attack event. Yes, you can get overkill, but with only 5 damage, that's generally not a huge deal. Like, it's pretty easy to hit with his built-in resource generator. You can hit the kicker, but like, how often are you really doing it, and for how much is it really doing?
Yeah.
Right? That means the best you're going to get is 4 damage. This also doesn't have, you will notice, it does not have the Space Knight training, the trait. So team building exercise doesn't help you here.
Ooh,
so if it was traded as a Space Knight and attack, I could do team building exercise, but I can't. So I think this is just kind of mid.
Yeah. We talked about Venom Blast from Spider-Woman in the last episode, and I think this is very similar. It's a 2-cost card that deals 5 damage. I do like that it has overkill, but I mean, I'd rather it had piercing or something. So, I do agree with that. Venom also, between the multi-gun and his pistols, can manipulate what damage he does a lot. So, if things are rarely wasteful with Venom. I do play this card, though, but I play every Venom card. Venom is another character I don't think has bad cards at all. So, it's tricky, but it's the least interesting. I think the forwarding equivalent, it removes decent threat, but it also can confuse the enemy, which, okay, on Steady and Stalwart, not as great, but it's more efficient in general, I think. Against Steady, I am still fairly happy using it. Savage Attack is just something, it's a character with tons of damage. He doesn't need it. It's not that special. It's just, it's fine. But cool, I think that concludes our search for the worst cards for this Guardian wave. But now we need to rank them. We move on to the second part of the video. We're going to slap them in a tier list, and we are going to decide just how not good or how actual good they are of these least good cards.
All right, let's run over to the tier maker. I'll meet you there.
So here we are, ready to rank the heroes in our little tier list here. And we're going to mainly try and say good things about them to move them up this list. But, we might slip in some bad things accidentally again. But we're trying to say these cards are, good still. They do still have uses. So we've just arrived. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little out of breath, but I made it, and we're here to rank some heroes, and I'm excited.
Cool. Where do we go first?
Well, I want to start with maybe my hottest take of this episode, which is that we may have our first S tier card.
Oh,
So I want
yeah?
to start with Too Stubborn to Die.
Cool. So you're saying 100% confirmed that you think Too Stubborn to Die is an S tier card on our list.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna take that. I like that idea. That's great. Gonna put it aside. Here's my idea. I'm gonna put it at A tier.
Classic Star-Lord. I like your plan, except it sucks. So let's do my plan instead.
That's there. I kind of feel like it's here for me.
Really, yes.
This is where I feel
I
like it
think
is.
Okay. I would probably put it a little higher.
Okay,
I think it is. I'd play it more than the Shield, and I mean, I said bad things about it before to argue why it's the worst, but I think we also said some good things. I want to rehash some of that. It really does save Drax, right? There are times when you will lose the game, and this will mean you do not lose the game.
Yeah.
And that is valuable. And I think in our very, very first episode, that's why I argued for Cap's helmet, because I think there's some good things about it. Anyway, I think this can save the game. And Drax wants to be a little reckless. He wants to invite attacks to gain those counters. And sometimes that means it goes badly. And when it does, you just won't die.
Yeah.
So it does hit your tempo, like we talked about, right? You're going to lose all your counters, flip to alter ego. That puts you back a lot, but it's better than losing the game. And so I think I do end up playing it most of the time.
Oh, I don't. That's interesting.
Hmm.
See, I'm almost thinking maybe I should have said like here or even top of B. I'm not feeling like great about this. I like it though, but yeah, it's tricky.
I don't actually think it's S tier. I think that was a hot take born out of the energy and adrenaline pumping from the run over to the tier maker. I was a little crazy. I don't think it's S tier. I think I'd put it somewhere in there, maybe there, like middle of A tier. I think it's really, really good.
Okay.
Do you play it more than the synth suit?
I think I do prefer it to the simp suit. Simp suit does have uses, but it's almost like, I don't want to say a luxury. You know, you can build around it. It can do really good things in the right situation, but Too Stubborn to Die saves the game on a risky character. So yeah, I'll say how do you feel about it here?
I'm okay there. You're higher on Cap's shield toss than I am. So you've consistently kept that one higher up.
Yes.
That's fine. We just different play style.
Yeah.
I think this is better than the synth suit. I think I'm comfortable with it there.
Cool. Let's go with that then. And that means it's my pick. And I have absolutely no thoughts about where to put any of this. Maybe I should have thought about some of this while we were jogging over here. I'm going to take Star-Lord's because it's Star-Lord. I'm going to make myself the Star-Lord guy on YouTube. Star-Lord's the goat. He's the goat. He's, the best now.
You're going to be that's your thing.
I don't like this card at all. I'm going to be honest with you. For me, I think I drop this right here, kind of low to mid C there.
I think, is it better or worse than Ant-Man? I think it's worse than Ant-Man.
I do play the boots more.
A little lower.
I play the boots more, but Star-Lord has more money.
But the boots, they also, in context for Star-Lord, they don't hit that 3-cost threshold, so you're never going to use your ability on it. So you're always going to pay the full 2. I think that almost makes it worse. If that makes any sense.
I am inclined to drop it here. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think so. Like if it costs 3, you'd maybe play it more often just because, well, I got nothing else this turn. I'll just use his ability. But you're never going to use his ability on a 2-cost card, right? So
I mean, I do sometimes, but it doesn't feel good, and I don't think Jet Boots is good. So it's better than Magical Enhancements, I'm going to say, but it's kind of...
Magical Enhancements is time to go down to D tier.
How about, now that this is filling out, and D tier is not seeming to grow, and I'm gonna hot take, I don't think it's going to grow today. How about I drag these 2 down, and we have a more even list?
I agree. I think it's time. The more we look at cards, I just think those are like there's more and more cards where we're like, this is not a very good, but it's better than Magical Enhancements. So
Corset Wave 1. Yeah.
I think that means it should go down.
Yeah.
I think those are good moves we just made.
I think those are great moves we just made. Today. Yeah. Cool. So if we're not going to detail, pick a card for us and let us know where I'm taking it.
I would like to pick Venom's card.
Yep.
And I'm going to put it right next to Venom Blast.
So we have a few attacks stacking up here.
because it has the. No, I'm gonna put it below because I think her ability to boost her stats is better than the overkill.
Yeah. So Spider-Woman
Still
booster
better than
stats
big
playing the
hands.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spider-Woman boosts her stats by 1 for playing an aspect card. I think that's more valuable on the whole than the overkill from a 5
And
attack card.
it's got the superpower trait, so it's more discountable by a good resource generator you want to take. So
Yeah.
okay. So I'm fine with Savage Attack though. I think that's good.
Because Savage Attack really is just Relentless Assault, right? I mean, except that Relentless Assault has to be a minion, but it's essentially just overkill.
I'm going to hit you with something else. In a vacuum, Savage Attack is better than Big Hands, but I think Big Hands is more important for Miss Marvel in the context of her kit. I want to do this.
Ooh, okay. I'm comfortable with that.
So
I don't think Savage Attack's that good.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Is Savage Attack better than Webbed Up?
Well, that's interesting because I'm not a big fan of Webbed Up, but
I was high on it.
I feel like Webbed Up has some interesting utility, but I do think Savage Attack is very. I play Savage Attack a lot more than Webbed Up. Let's face it. Even you know with different copies and different money, I do think Savage Attack I prefer. For me, I think there's quite a big divide here in B tier, and I can see other cards filling it up, or eventually certain cards moving, you know, maybe to different tiers or something. Eventually, depending on you know how things go.
I could see Accelerated Reflexes going down too.
Yeah, but not right now. I think it's in a good place right now.
It's okay now.
Cool. Well, up next, I'm gonna have to pick one, and I'm struggling with all of these cards. You know, these are very fine. You know, I feel like these cards are all fine, but they don't excite me. I'm going to go for Gamora's Sword, and I'm going to put it somewhere high C. I'm going to drop it right there. Actually, I'm going to talk myself up to it, because what I just thought is that not only can the lock and load side team get it, but the superpower training can get it as well. So, and she's really good at hitting side schemes because she has so much, you know, she just thwarts accidentally when she plays attack events. So it's pretty accessible in that regard. So modern day Gamora, I'm going to put it C tier, top of C.
I think I would tuck myself lower. I was going to put this closer to the bottom of C tier, to be honest. It's not a card I play often. Yeah, it has those side schemes. Lock and load is tough because it forces you into playing aggression, which I don't usually play aggression with her. Superpower training, yes, but then you're evaluating the strength of this card based on another card that you could play and thwart to get this card. I would put this lower. I think this really messes up her kit, to be honest.
That's really interesting. You know, me and Nelson talked about Gamora, and he said aggression was like his most played for her. For me, it's like 50-50 aggression justice, but I feel like I do play aggression quite a bit, and it still has, you know, the superpower training outside of that. I don't know. I could be talked to moving it down a little bit, but not to the end.
I also don't really like Gamora. I just have never gotten on with the character, so I don't play her a lot. So maybe my opinion is not as valuable here, but I just think when I do play her the sword, if it's not out turn 1 or 2, I just don't play it.
Yeah.
And like that for me is a definition of a very, very situational card that's not all that good. And like if I have to invest a side scheme to clear that to get this, like by the time it comes out, what's the point? I don't think that card's good.
I do get some pretty decent use out of it. I don't know. I'm gonna argue to put it here then, and hope that you're okay with it, because I'm gonna champion this. I like this card.
I'm interested to hear what people think in the comments, because I think maybe I'm just like lower on that card than you are, but I just don't think it's good. I would play the boots before I play this, to be honest. I might put this at the bottom of the tier.
Okay, here's my argument that's going to convince you. Okay. Swords are cool.
Swords are cool.
Yeah.
You win.
Yeah.
That's it.
What would you want? Do you want some little gauntlets on your wrist or something? Or, you know, or do you want a sword? I want a sword. So there you go. It's at least around here. It's a cool tier list.
It's fine.
Where to next?
Next, let's go with Groot. I'm going to go with my first pick. I think Groot's thwart event is somewhere lower B tier, upper C tier for me. I think it's unreliable because the counters are unreliable and they're not entirely in your control.
Yeah.
So they can go away without you really being able to stop it, and you may need to spend them somewhere else. It's hard to build them up. And you can just draw this card and it can just be dead. Like if you have no counters, this is a dead card.
Yeah.
I might even put it at the top of C with the more I'm talking about it. What do you think about it?
I'm kind of thinking I put it here and move it up a little
okay.
bit.
You're higher on this one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Groot has a bad card. I think Groot is a slightly weaker hero, but I don't think his cards individually, you know, in a good situation, it hits really well. In a bad situation, obviously, it's terrible. And thinking about it, I was talking about the upgrade that readies him, but I think I might actually put that higher than this. So I think we picked a good choice here, actually. For all player counts, for all different ways. But I still think I use this much more than webbed up. And now I'm thinking about putting accelerated reflex above webbed up. I'm not sure. This is an interesting
You're very
area.
low on webbed up.
I am very low on webbed
I'm
up.
consistently higher on webbed up than you are.
It's interesting.
I would not move it down.
When we did the video for webbed up a little while ago now, a lot of people in the comments were defending it, and I only got more and more convinced that I didn't like it when I thought about it more and more.
The more we talk about moving webbed up down, the more I kind of think I would move it up in the B tier. I think webbed up is good.
This is your support the underdog kind of thing coming through. This is the Vision
Maybe.
kind of Vision syndrome.
Hey. Easy. Vision's awesome.
He is. I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can leave it here for now.
Cool. Okay.
I would move Groot down.
I will
webbed
relent by one space.
Okay.
I will accept.
Okay. And then we are on to the last one.
Yeah, where do we think Reload goes? I like this card. I mean, I'm tempted to say this is B tier at worst. It's just useful for the tempo. The tempo is really good. Considering that then you can get, because you're wasting less value. If you want to use tinkering or repurpose or something, it is useful. How useful is it?
I would keep going.
I'm thinking here for me.
I would put it above Big Hands. I would maybe put it at the top of B tier. I think this is really strong. It, like you said, the tempo, if you're going to use tinkering, if you're going to use repurpose, anything where you want to get rid of those things, or you just have another one you want to play.
Yeah, the restricted slots.
You can't play them all out at the same time. Like you just want to get rid of it, or you just need to deal damage. You can deal burst damage. I think this card's really good.
It is really good. You're talking me into it.
Move it up. Yeah.
It's.
I might even move it above the synth suit. It's really Reload's really good.
It is quite good.
I didn't say it was his worst card.
The thing is, I still think I'd put all his other cards up here. Like the cybernetic suit for me would be S tier. I'll let you know that would be my first S tier. That's how much I like that.
What?
So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So I will relent and put it up to A tier, but I think I put it here. I put it at the end or
below the suit. Okay.
You know what? You talk to me. You know what?
I'd put it above the suit.
You know what? I know you like to do top of the die, but I'm going to do that. I like Reload.
Reload's really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
This is a pretty good list. Still no S tier.
Still no S tier.
Viewers, next episode we have Vision, so we are guaranteed to get an S tier next time. So. Yeah,
or don't forget Valkyrie's worst card could be something really special. She's a goat for a reason.
She is a goat. Quick disclaimer for the listeners in the next episode. Are we including like permanent cards like mass forms and Valkyrie's whatever her attachment's called?
Deathglow. I would say
are those included?
I would say no, because I've said no to the identity cards, and I think we ruled out the invocation deck for Doctor Strange. I think it has to be something you have to choose to play, so it's kind of competitive in the same realm as the others.
So we can't use Wolverine's claws or the mass form. Those cards that are permanent don't count.
Yeah,
just for the rules. I mean, it's never going to be Wolverine's claws anyway, but I'm just saying for the rules.
What? It's Wolverine's claws if they get stuck in your hand when you drew them with the old rules before they fixed it.
Yeah, those are terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm pretty good with this tier list. So viewers, let us know what you think. Again, you have access to this with the link, so check it out. Put it in the Discord channel, and Bill and Theo will link all that so we can have a robust discussion. Tell us where we're wrong. Tell us where we're right.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I look forward to seeing that. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. Really excited for the next wave. Wave 1 course that I wasn't as interested in. Wave 3 with the Guardians, especially interesting. But wave 4, me and Boomguy were talking about this a little bit before. It's a bit of a contentious wave. It's not everyone's favorite, but I think that makes it really interesting to talk about. And there's some really, really good cards there. And maybe every one of those heroes has a worse card.
Yeah, well, every one of them definitely has a worse card. There's 2 of my favorite heroes in the next wave, so I'm excited to talk about them. And I look forward to sharing that with everybody. Until then, guys, I hope you have a great time. Like, comment, subscribe, anything that helps the channel. And check out Boomguy's podcast, Winning Hand. Yeah, check us out, Winning Hand, wherever you get your podcast or here on YouTube. Thanks for having me, Villain Theory.
Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.